Let's talk about finding contractors and workers when renovating a house in Italy. Hi, I am Fuse Reese, known as Fuse from Fuse Travels, and I have just purchased a multi-unit home in Salemi, Sicily. Salemi is about 50 minutes south of Palermo, very well actually centrally located. And when I decided on Salemi and the house that I would be choosing to buy, the town I would be choosing to buy a home in Sicily, which I've known it would be Sicily almost 2 years ago, I knew having an expat community was going to be important. Now, I also knew I wasn't going to be hanging out just with expats, but I wanted a place that had a community so I can ask questions, so I could see people have gone through, what people have gone through as far as, electricity and contractors and builders, because I did purchase a Reno project and I knew it would be a Reno project because I had a very low budget. Now, what I didn't know was how hard getting this information would be, because essentially some expats, they hog that information. Now, before you go judging and saying how dare they do that, you need to understand the reality, at least of this town and of many towns that have the €1 program or that are smaller, right? So you have this interesting thing going on where the supply, so there's two sides of this coin, okay? There's a supply and demand side, meaning that more people are coming, more people investing, so then less homes in the market, and also less builders to go around. And one key person that you're going to need in a renovation is called the muratori. And he's like your main contractor, but he does a lot of things that in the US, for example, he would not be doing. So he's changing out the little sockets for electricity, and the plumber needs him to change out the pipe and the terrace. So there's a lot of things that you would think would be the plumber, the electrician. It's actually the muratori that does. So this is a key central person in your home renovation. And guess what? I do not have that person, but I've been able to get things done, at least more urgent things done. So kind of outsourcing temporarily a muratori for now. And, I nailed my electrician, my plumber, and the muratori has been kind of up in the air. And this has been challenging. Now, I'm Brazilian, I'm a Latina, I get things done. People are kind of also a little shocked that I've been able to get appointments and things done. More on that to come. But let's talk back about finding contractors and builders. Now, feet on the ground is always going to be your best bet. Always your best bet. These things are very hard to do from afar. That's why having the Facebook group is important, and also getting to know locals. This has been game changer for me, and getting to know locals, getting names, getting introductions, getting recommendations and referrals. Now, remember when I said some expats do not want to share their lists of the people they're using, and maybe you had a negative thought about the expats, and I didn't fully understand this until I came. And the reason this happens is because sadly what's happening is if you have a €10,000 project and you have a builder on that project, but someone else comes and they have a €70,000 project, well, guess what's going to happen? So people are afraid to share their info and lists because that contractor hasn't finished a job in their house. So it makes sense to me. If I had a contractor in my house and then if he starts flaking off and more people start coming, I don't know if I wouldn't share his information either, okay? So there's been sometimes these guys are ghosting. Sometimes they're also putting the price so up there because they don't want to do the job, because they got better offers or they got bigger projects. So this is becoming an issue, at least I feel, in Salemi, as finding good builders. Now I'm going to have to look elsewhere in other towns. So it's challenging, but there's complexities there. So on one side, supply and demand, and I understand that, and people want their projects to be finished. So why are they going to tell the world who they're using? Right? On the other hand, there's something called greed, and greed is not coming from the suppliers. Not coming from the expats. The greed is coming from some businesses that they are jacking up the prices, not only of their services, but also the home prices have gone up. Now, home prices going up when there is demand, supply and demand. It's a rule. It's a law of the universe. But some of these people are getting greedy, okay? They're trying to sell a 1-bedroom apartment for what a 3-bedroom should be, and they think there's so much demand. I don't know. Is there? There are people coming in. There are people from, a lot of people from Estonia, people from the UK, because Salemi was featured in the BBC show. But they are getting greedy. So I've even heard this from locals that, the local government is aware that there's this phenomenon. They call it the phenomenon, where all these stranieri, all the foreigners are finding about Salemi, and the locals don't understand how people are finding this small town of 10,000, people, right? And we're finding because of social media. I found my house because of Amanda in Italy. And then saw other people or other things about the town and became very interested in it because I saw there was something creative happening in the air. Now, I still feel like I picked the right town for me, and that's a very personal decision. I'm gonna do another video of how you find your town, how you find your house, etc., because I feel like there's a 5-step process when it comes to that. And definitely sign up for the Anchor for my newsletter, because I share things that I'm not allowed to share on here, actually. So sign up to the Anchor and you get behind the scenes. Trust me, if you are curious and if you have some FOMO right now, sign up there. So I feel like there's certain things that's easy to judge from afar, but it's only when you start living in a town and you start understanding the dynamics and you start understanding of, the people's reputation. Now, it is a small town, so you think, oh, people are not going to drop the ball because then everyone's going to know. What have I done is I've been able to book meetings. I've been able to, get people to go there, and they like to talk. When dealing with contractors and builders, expect to have the same exact meeting at least 3 times. Expect to talk on the phone. Expect to write everything in Italian. Nobody's speaking English or translate on their behalf. That's your activity to do. You're the one translating, okay? Meetings over meetings, and they still can get things wrong. So one thing that's been helpful for me is I did hire someone, kind of a project manager, at least for the electrician part and plumbing part, until I have the builder that's going to do the whole project of the rest of the house, and it will be done in phases. My renovation is going to be done in phases, and I think you have to be very realistic of that, because time schedules are just suggestions in Sicily, especially. So what you think is going to be your time schedule, it's not. What you think you're going to spend, it's usually not. That I already knew. I am lucky that my husband does tile work and he does bathroom remodels, renovations. He can open the wall, he can close the wall, and that our flooring overall in the house is good except for a couple of bathrooms. So that part is really good in that sense. So it's been interesting navigating this alone without my husband as I'm here in Sicily. But I have been able, like, people have praised me. People have been impressed with what I've done in a month and a half. I had built a small team. I had, removed the bathroom, removed the kitchen from the garage. I went already bought all the tiles for the bathroom, which everything with the sink, the shower, the base, around 1,800 euros for my bathroom, and that's because I did pick a higher price tile. The backsplash for my kitchen, which is going to be a very high wall, is like less than 300 euros. That was cheap, and I'll be sharing more about the renovation costs so far. And I've created this dashboard, and I'm thinking that I might share more on a private channel or maybe a subscription channel, so you guys could actually see a private video of the dashboard of the actual like financial stuff, because it is personal information as far as like just to see and kind of get a glimpse and get an update. Like, do you want to follow that? Almost like tally board, like, where is Fuse with her renovation costs? Is she underspending, overspending? What is she thinking? She's not getting the IKEA kitchen. Because if you follow me on Instagram, I did a video saying, sorry, husband, Scavolini is it. I'm not getting the IKEA kitchen. It's just the math didn't math, like by the value that you get and the fact that it's going to be an Airbnb. So I've been able to do a lot, to go shopping, to set things. I also have someone that is more of a house project manager while I'm away, where she could go open the house, talk to some of the staff, the team, and get things done. And she does speak Italian, which has been very helpful. So you're going to need help. You're going to need assistance. So some people will hire an architect to do the whole project and oversee it, almost like a PM for the whole project. I've seen that. I've seen someone just really have the builder closer, but the builder takes a lot long, right? So I have a few goals where I need the garage studio ready by August 3rd, because that's when, well, I'm coming back before, so I don't have to spend money on an Airbnb, and I could essentially live in the Bella Bossa studio loft. So I need the plumbing done. I need it all done. So I do have a timeline. I do have a schedule for that, but the rest is in phases. So I feel like I've seen some Americans just be very unrealistic about getting things done, because it doesn't work like the US. For example, in Salemi, I heard that in July and August, they only work till noon. In August, they usually don't work. So I think June, July, they're going to work till noon. So it's like they have 2 months to finish these very simple things. But if they're only working half the day or not even half the day, are they going to be able to reach that goal? And I have my house, like I said, it's in 5 phases. The first phase is the studio loft. The second phase is the other Airbnb, Casa Brasiliana, along with my bedroom. So that's kind of like ground floor, first floor. The third phase, I don't know if it's going to be the rendering like of the outside of the house. I might need to do that before. The fourth phase is the rest of my house, which is the most costly because there's a terrace. I'm having issues with water stuff on the floor slash ceiling of my living room, and that's more complicated. And phase 5 is the third floor where we want to raise the roof, and we'll need permits for that. Now, I did buy a home in historic center. That's the other thing to keep in mind, where I have to follow some guidelines. I can't just paint the house anything I want, and certain materials more in the external. And of course, if I'm going to do any restructuring, you need permits for that, which I'm not only till phase 5. And I don't know, when will phase 5 be? 3 years? I don't know. Sign up for the newsletter, because then I'm going to announce this private video about my dashboard that you guys could follow along and be like a fly in the wall when it comes to the renovations and the updates and the things that are happening. But overall, this is what I feel so far, the lessons I've learned. It's interesting thing navigating as a woman. I've heard advice that, oh, act like a damsel in distress and act dumb and you'll get things done. But if they come and you see if they're trying to take advantage, then you need to step it out, aka bring my jersey out. So there's been a few incidents where I've brought my jersey out and it's been helpful, mostly with women. I'm going to do another video all about that, mostly with Gen X women. I'm also being very proactive in asking around, asking in town, sending messages, because, they'll show up and do work and not tell me. So that also has been interesting. But, I have been able to get 2 appointments in a day, which some say is a miracle, especially with Sicily. But overall, my advice is, if you're thinking about renovating a house or buying a house, I think an expat community is important. And you need to try and get the feel of how that is. Are they gatekeeping information because of the supply and demand, because of other things happening in the town? Or, is there a list? Like, there's other towns near Palermo where there's a lot of workers and a lot of options, which isn't the case of mine. And it's historical center, which also makes it limiting, physically limiting. So my advice overall is expat group, start checking on that. Get referrals. Referrals are going to be really important. Is this guy on time? So for example, there was a builder I really wanted to use, and it is now May 19th. I'm still waiting for an estimate from August. He's one of the best, but he's not available. So it's not like I could use him, but and somebody else that I'm planning to use for something, they're like, oh, they're great, but just expect delays. Like, if he says he's going to work in June, it's really August. So these things are kind of what makes Italy frustrating, but also beautiful and chaotic. And I am here seeking the unhurried life and the anchored freedom. So yes, sign up. So if you have any other questions, just follow along on Instagram, and definitely sign up for the Anchor newsletter, because there are things that are not shared online because I can't. But if you want to know, sign up for the newsletter. Ciao.